It's fairly obvious in this question that we need to think about punctuation, right? I mean, that's what's changing in the choices, so predicting the question is super easy here. Now, we do need to think, as always, about the rules for the different punctuation marks because we have some important ones here. We have semicolons, we have periods. These are ones that we don't think about very often in our, well, we think about periods, but semicolons we don't use very often in our own writing, so we might not know the rules. But if we do, we can double our odds of getting this question right instantaneously because choices C and A are exactly the same. There is no grammatical difference between those two choices. And that's because a semicolon is used, at least on the SAT, to join two complete sentences. So in order to use a semicolon, it's the test you can apply anytime you see one in a choice. We need a complete sentence both before the semicolon and after it. But that's how periods work too. So choice B, because it doesn't change any of the words, is doing the same thing. It requires the same rule for us, right? It would need to have a complete sentence before the period, and it would need to have a complete sentence after. It's two sentences. So because of that, without really diving deeply into whether or not these are sentences, I just know that these two choices have to be wrong. They're identical grammatically, just cross them both out. Now we see, okay, we have a slightly different choice here, but it's an easier one. And this is, kind of why doing this helps us, is it's easier now to think about, do we want the hard stop of a period, right? Do we need to think about a sentence and another sentence? Or can we use the more soft comma that allows us to connect things to sentences, just normal extra pieces of information, clauses. So now I can think, well, what's a sentence here? It's a long sentence, but we can break it down. From Michelangelo's David to Vincent van Gogh's series of self-portraits to Grant Wood's iconic image of a farming couple in American Gothic. Well, did I finish a thought? Did I get to my point? If so, then I can use a period. But if that just felt like a kind of long introduction, then that's not a sentence. And it's not. So that means we're going to have to pick choice D here because we do not have a complete sentence ahead of that period. Right? So what we need is to look for some sort of action, and there isn't one. It's a long introduction. And that's why people think we might be able to put a period there. But length is not what we're testing. It's not about that. It's about the structure. And so the real sentence here is where it says, works, I'm going to get rid of the these because choice D does, works by human artists have favored representations of members of their own species to those of other species. That's the main sentence. Okay? And so everything that's before that is going to be extra. And so you can see proportionally it's about 50-50, maybe a little bit more of the extra than of the actual sentence, but that's not a problem. It's not about the number. It's not about the length. It's about what that piece accomplishes. So if you can kind of read it in your head, you should be able to hear that first piece is just long intro. It's not getting to its point. The point is the green. And so we don't have a complete sentence in the pink, so we can't use any of the punctuation marks that would end a complete sentence, a period or a semicolon. So that kind of doubly proves A and C wrong, but I think it's helpful to kind of narrow your focus from the start and eliminate those choices so that you have an easier thing to think about. It gets your brain on the right path faster. So memorize that rule. Semicolons definitely come up on the SAT, and thinking of them as periods is actually really helpful for eliminating answer choices.